Hello people and welcome back to News Review. I didn't cover last week's patch notes because I was busy, and this week's patch notes are short, so you're getting double news in this video. If you are a new or returning player, I do recommend you check out my new player guide. It'll help you better understand what I'm saying in the video. As always, open up the patch notes, link in the description if you want to follow along. I will be answering questions about whether to pull for the black golds and also talking about very important information regarding the jumbo draw and the alt max, so be sure to stick around for that. Jumping right into it, there are two new black golds which many people have asked me my opinions on, but let's cover their skills before I talk about whether to pull for them. As usual, they will cost 200 diamonds for the guarantee, and getting them without the guarantee is nigh impossible with only a 0.8% draw rate. You know, 0.4 if you're somehow lucky enough to get the other one from one of the seals. Starting off, we have the Light Beast Dihong. His leader skill is okay. It biases members towards being water and light, or the DLC free cards, which are unimaginable path. Of note is that 5 groups is sometimes difficult to reach, even though this is not restricted by first batch. Just dissolving 5 groups sometimes isn't that feasible, depending on what kind of shield or board you're dealing with. Moving on to his team skills, which are basically an extension of his leader skills, because they activate when he is a leader. He has all the normal skills in cards nowadays, plus 12 combos off the bat unconditionally is pretty nice, but it is worth noting that he can only heal off heart moonstones, which could be a potential weakness. Continuing on, this kind of conversion might destroy boards. Just having a conversion every single round, it usually helps with speedrunning and not much else, but you know, on release a card usually doesn't have that kind of problem. He also does have a fixed board active, so it's not the end of the world. The CD cycling is also nice, but it's only for beasts, dragons, and gods, which means that your members will have to satisfy both the race and attribute condition to take full effect of all skills. Otherwise, these skills primarily buff the leader and ally, which is the direction this team kind of goes anyway. Finally, he has a super block, mechanic that was introduced with the Light Dragon Sodom, but since nobody pulled on that, a quick refresher on what that is. It is a shield that can block a hit no matter how much damage is coming in. This only applies to damage where the enemy is actually hitting you and not depleting your HP through some other means, such as poison. There is also a team skill with both black golds as leader and ally, but I'll talk about that after I go over the other cards, actives, and her own leader and team skills. For his active, it is an EP active costing 8 out of a max of 14 EP. You can dissolve 4 groups for 1 EP for a max of plus 2 EP per round if you dissolve 8 groups. The main draw of this skill is the ignoring of cross-shaped, L-shaped, and T-shaped shields. This is the first ever card to do so, although people have been extremely clever at figuring out fixed boards and spin patterns to bypass those easily anyway. Other than that, a fixed board skill is always good, but this skill is rather tailored towards himself, being the leader, you know, having a lot of buffs for himself and related kind of effects. Next up, we have the other black gold, the water dragon Xuan, and for her leader skill, she forgot that she was supposed to have synergy with the free DLC cards, the Unimaginable Path series. Yes, this is me dunking on the card design. It can't get any more clear cut that they just forgot to write in the attack boost for Unimaginable Path members. You know, and unless they're all beast, dragon, and god, but then why did they write it in for Dihong? I don't really know, man. Yeah, I do have a negative bias towards this seal since Matt didn't really put much effort into designing the cards, but what can you do? For the first part of her team skills, they are literally the same as Dihong, but moving on from that, this is the card that also ignores more niche skills, which actually makes her worse as a leader, unfortunately. By the way, for that second last point, I thought flaming areas was a typo, but no, that's the skill that requires you to stop at a particular position on the board, commonly combined with fixed combo shield, and is literally no threat at all since you can just do it or not do it with the amount of HP that teams have nowadays, so ignoring it is not a big deal at all. The last part of her team skill is kind of interesting, but also kind of wasted potential. It allows you to access an additional 3 rows on top of your normal board, same as the protagonist's boundary break and other similar skills. You can do this at any point you want, but that's not really a common thing you want to do most of the time, since why would you? This is kind of a wasted potential of a very unique mechanic. on a card that you will probably not use as a leader. Very unfortunate. For her active, this is also an EP skill with the same max EP of 14 and the same way to recover each EP as Dihong. This is a bit wordy, but essentially you get all the skills on the left side regardless of what you choose. Then you choose one out of two sets of effect on the right side. The first one being the top half here and the other one being the bottom half here. The skill is fine. It joins the ranks of being a rare card to ignore Runestone number shield with the main drawback of other members launching no attack. That's fine, but it just means that you'll likely never choose the bottom effect of Auspicious Dragon, and if you need that board, you'll need the help of a member or something, so a bit of contradictory design in my opinion. Okay, now that their individual skills have been covered, let's get to the skills that they have together, starting with the team skill when they are leader and / or ally. These skills are fine, mainly you just know that Madhead are going to be putting in skill activation penalty, active skill point penalty, and skill reset in 2 stages for the next few months or so to reward people who pulled, but under normal circumstances, these just don't show up that often. They also have a new mechanic called Soul Repair, where you can put a character runestone into the portrait of either black gold to recover EP faster for that black gold and to give extra attack to the black gold and just members in general, which reinforces that the leader and ally are mainly responsible for the damage output of this team. An interesting thing to consider with this is that you can't trigger a Chrono Runestone at the same time as you're trying to do this, which may or may not be important. I just thought I would point that out. The 2 black golds also have a combined skill together, which is where you expend both their actives for a big effect. However, if Nero and Prometheus from last year are anything to go by, this is likely never going to be used in most cases. The skill is basically a mash of both cards' actives. The new effects here, which I'll just quickly state, are that you can blast an enemy for 120 trillion damage regardless of their skills, which is pretty cool until the enemy's HP surpasses that number. Honestly, apart from that, I feel you're better off activating each of their actives separately, so I'm just going to skip all the other effects. You can go and read all the effects in the skill if you want. As always, we've also got new Dragon Words, which you'll get 1 free copy of when you pull the card within the event period, equipable for light and water members respectively. In terms of skills, the light one is just better, both in terms of Dragonware skills and craft skills, which does push you towards pulling for Dihong a bit more. Before we go further, my opinions on whether you should pull, I'm going to hit you with a classic. It depends. Even though I do say that a lot, it is true. Mainly there's a few things you should be asking yourself. How many diamonds do you have? If you pull for both and you're a JoJo fan, do you have enough for the second JoJo collab coming soon? Because yes, that's a thing. What cards do you already have? Do you already have Hell's Paradise or Sherlock or Slime or Lilith? Those will probably last you a while, so if you do have them, you're probably not desperately looking for a leader right now. In conclusion, this is a perfectly mid-seal in my opinion. The multipliers will look good for a while, and my prediction is that you'll be cruising for a few months, and after that it'll just be a perfectly average team where it won't be particularly easy or particularly hard to clear stuff with. If you want to save your diamonds, that's valid. If you want to pull, that's also valid. If you want more specific help on your inventory or the number of diamonds you have, you can join my server and ask there. I know this kind of sounds like a cop-out answer, but it is your account at the end of the day, and I'm not the supreme authority on what you should be doing with your diamonds. This is not a seal where the cards are atrocious or extremely OP, so, you know, do whatever you want. That being said, there is one thing that I am extremely sure of, which is that Dihong, the light black gold, is way better than Xuan, the water black gold, as a leader and possibly even as a member. So if you are deciding who to pull between just, you know, either one of them, that is a very clear choice. You should be going for Dihong. Okay, moving on to the free cards. This is still last week's news, by the way, so this is in the game right now. We have the Dice Game Light God Challenge card, Wong Tai Sin, who is fine. His active lets you obtain a large amount of a certain type of runestone, which can come in handy sometimes. Apart from that, he doesn't really do that much. Following that, we have a new Dark Demon / Beast / Dragon card, which starts out as a Dark Demon, but you can evolve it into a Beast or a Dragon, and you can evolve it back, or you can't. You can you can evolve between Beast and Dragon. I'm not really sure what like this card's deal is, but just keep like 3 copies if you don't want a headache. All the skills between all the forms are the same. This is very clearly meant as a booster to the new black golds. In fact, I would go so far as to say that this card was meant to be a dark demon, except it, you know, releases alongside the new black gold. So they were just like, oh, let's add the beast and dragon and evolve branches onto this card. It's not bad. Some notable effects are that it allows you to dissolve many groups of runestones and ignores all runestone shield, those being, you know, useful and rare skills. This card is also an unimaginable path member, so that is useful for, you know, that kind of thing. Next is a Fire God Challenge stage card, Yuan. This card doesn't really do much, to be honest. If you use him, he'll mainly be there because he is an unimaginable path member. Just doesn't do that much. The, I guess, most impactful thing here is that he ignores step damage, and at the end of the round you explode all runestones to generate runestones of the type used to end movement with, but that's not a particularly unique skill to this card. Next we have the Dark Elf bi-weekly card, Inky. This card doesn't do anything at all. There's a lot of text, but, you know, this card has no effect pretty much. You'll never see this card being used. The only reason to train it at all is to count for the 12th anniversary mission rewards, and even then that's like a hard sell if you got points from other sources. Rounding out the final card from last week, we have the Battle Pass Water Dragon Deacon, who is honestly way worse than his original form and probably won't get used because everyone was hoping for damage carryover, and that's just not it. This card doesn't have it. Very sad. Okay, with last week's news done, let's switch gears real quick and talk about two important game-related events. The first one is the Jumbo Draw, which is a website you can access, 12thjumbodraw.tosgame.com. I'll also put that in the description. You need to enter your UID, which you can find at the top left, and your auth code, which you can find as a message sent to you by GM in your inbox. I haven't actually done this, by the way, so I'm going to do it live right now. Upon logging in, you'll be seeing this screen, which means that, you know, you can see whether you're eligible. A lot of you should be. You just gotta have made your account not yesterday, essentially, be level 150 and above, and log in at least 7 days. You can just, you know, fulfill this if you haven't fulfilled that last part. So basically, what this is that you got two buttons. One is the Jumbo giveaway, which I'm going to do right now. So you press start. Yeah, you do the giveaway. What did I get? Okay. These are actually not bad. Anyway, if you see something in here that you like, probably don't take it just yet. I recommend you going for cards that you don't have. And if there's a card that you want for your all max, you know, you could also pick that here and pick something else for your all max because you have less selection here. But the other thing is, after you pick a card from here, you can exchange with friends or, you know, really anyone. You can go on the TOSEN Discord, you can go on my server. There's a ton of people that you can potentially exchange with, but you'll send each other trade codes for a card that you did not pick. So if you pick one card here, you cannot send that same card out. So, you know, that's why I recommend you not to pick this immediately. Anyway, the other event that is semi-related is the All Max ticket, which if you haven't used is either in your rewards or in your inventory. If you haven't claimed it, do claim that because it expires soon, within a month of when you received it, if you've logged in, but do not use it just yet. At the bare minimum, do the Jumbo Draw first so you can eliminate some potential cards from who you want to pick from when you eventually pick the card that you want from Jumbo Draw, and that you receive a card from someone else from the Jumbo Draw. But honestly, if you're not feeding for a particular card, you can just sit on it to see if you pull or receive some missing cards from random sources before it expires. You have quite a while before it does. Also, as new leaders come out, some cards may become better or worse choices due to that. I'll be making a dedicated video on who I think are the best candidates to pick, you know, in the near future, so you can also wait for that video if you want to hear my opinions on that. Okay, that was a nice tangent. Let's get back to the newest news from this week. First off, we have a new Light Beast Ultimate card, who is clearly another booster for the new Black Golds, but does benefit other leaders as well. A rare beast that actually does something. Single Dissolve is a great skill, and this is the 4th ever beast to ignore scorching areas, so it is a very welcome addition in that regard as well. Also, he is required for one of Dihong's bond skills, so if you're planning to pull for Dihong, just train this card up, you know, for like that reason as well. Next, we have another bronzed evolvement card, a new Heijiajia, which I will remind you that this is the first and last time that this card will be available, since Heijiajia is technically a collab series. Both of these cards have the same skills. One is a water human and one is a dark elf. It is basically a dedicated Heijiajia member, but a pretty good one at that, on that specific team, since it gives a semi-fixed board, ignores Runestone number shield, gives extra attacks of whatever types, and is usable every round because of self-CD cycling. Outside of Heijiajia teams though, I don't think it's that useful. The final thing that we have is a buff to Tan Sangzang and his crew. It basically makes all of these cards somewhat usable again as members, with Tan Sangzang maybe being usable as a leader, but don't really count on that. He did receive substantial buffs, but in today's meta, I just don't really know whether you can even bring a card this old out, even with the buffs. Without going into each individual card, because there's been a ton of changes. Basically, effects have been modernized. Any convert effect basically became remove. Every active has a shield breaking effect tacked onto it. Sanzang now has a synergy as a leader with the Sinhu series and Wukong. So all in all, you might see some of these cards pop up more as members, since they actually do something now in addition to being large stat sticks. By the way, these skills are not in the game yet. They will be coming to the game on the 3rd of February, I believe. Honestly, the card with the biggest glow up is no joke, Lady Whitebones. Yes, the absolute worst card in the Sinhu series prior to this, pretty much. They completely overhauled her entire active, and she is now essentially a light elf Cassandra, and we all know how good that card is. For my ranking of the 3 cards, yeah, there's nothing here because it is an absolute mess to rank them. Not only because there are so many of them, but because you should also pretty much train all of them anyway. It is free points for the 12th anniversary point event, and you'll likely be using them because they are dedicated members for the new black gold. So if you have the new black golds, train them. Even if you don't, they are free points for the event. So just do it, it's not that hard. The game gave you like a ton of stamina potions. It's all good. For the Celebrate events, they are not out yet, which is a little surprising since the news was out like 3 days ago at this point. But I didn't want to delay this video even more, so whatever card comes up as a returning ultimate or bi-weekly, just grab one copy and be on your way, unless it's really good, in which I might post about it in the community tab, so watch out for that. Probably not going to happen though, because most ultimate cards aren't that good. That is it for this week's news review. If you liked it, please leave a like. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. And if you like this in general, please subscribe. It helps me and the channel out. And I'll see you next video. I really appreciate you getting to this point. Anyone who got to this point, fantastic. Comment down below that you got to this point or something. Alright, see ya.